30-year-old Andrew Gołota, 31-3 with 27 knockouts, weighing in at 238 pounds. Terrible Tim Witherspoon, the former world champion, 40 years of age, 46-7, 31 knockouts. He weighed in at 239 pounds. Gołota with 13 first-round knockouts. Witherspoon has 11. 22 of Gołota's 27 knockouts have come within the first 3 rounds. And Teddy Atlas, early on, what do you expect in this bout?
You would expect Gołota, the younger guy, the faster guy, at this point in his career, the more skilled guy, to get an early lead and out-hustle. Witherspoon would be looking to time him with a big right hand. That's always been his trademark.
Gołota establishing a jab, I would think that'd be a key for him.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. And his speed. He has more speed than Witherspoon. Witherspoon at 40 years of age, the one thing he does not have is speed. And that's going to be the question tonight. Not if he has power, but if he has the speed to land that power.
Witherspoon has lost his last 2, losing to James Thunder on April the 7th back in December of last year. Lost a 12-round decision to Larry Donald. He's only been knocked out, though, once in his career, and that was back in 1986 when he lost in defense of his WBA title, getting knocked out by Bone Crusher Smith in round 1. But Witherspoon was battling Don King in the courts at the time, and Smith a late-minute sub for Tony Tubbs, and that was a bizarre situation.
Yeah, it's enough to have to worry about your opponent. He had to worry about 5 opponents that night.
There's that right hand that you mentioned Witherspoon is looking to time.
If you're looking to make a case for Witherspoon, the thing that really bothers me is what you just said, the Thunder fight. Thunder was right in front of him. Thunder's a guy who was coming off 2 knockout losses, and he could not land that right hand. That worries me.
And Thunder had been knocked out by the light-hitting Chris Bird, of all people.
If you're a Gołota backer, the thing that has to worry you a little bit is the last fight. Corey Sanders, a very green guy, a game guy, but not a real skilled guy, not an experienced guy, hit Gołota at will. So you would think that that would make it very interesting tonight. Witherspoon, the older guy with power in the right hand, has a chance to land a punch on Gołota, but he's going to have to throw it, and he's going to have to probably throw more than one at a time.
Final 30 seconds of round 1. What about the pressure? Gołota fighting in front of his countrymen, 6,000 people on hand. You know, he's been fighting in the United States. Is that an added pressure for Andrew Gołota?
You know, that's a good point. Usually you think you flip it around. You think the guy traveling would have the pressure. This is an experienced guy. He shows he can travel in Europe. He went over there and fought Frank Bruno, who was the champion a few years back, and he had no problem with it. Gołota's the one you have to worry about.
Closing seconds of round 1. Gołota and Witherspoon on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. We begin round number 2, scheduled for 10. Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon from Poland. Andrew Gołota in the white and red trunks, Witherspoon in the white and black. Teddy, what about in between rounds? Lou Duva and Roger Bloodworth saying to Gołota, don't stand right in front of Witherspoon.
They're saying exactly right, because the one shot Witherspoon has is that. If that lands, you don't want to stand in front of him. He doesn't have a chance to out-hustle you. He's not going to outspeed you, not going to outscore you. He's going to knock you out if he's going to win. So you don't want to stand in front of him. Kind of like Michael Moorer when I had him fighting George Foreman. The one thing we did not want to do was to stand right in front of him, because that was his one shot. Unfortunately, we did do that.
There's the right hand again from Witherspoon. I tell you, I would think Gołota would want to give Witherspoon a little bit of movement too, just to make the 40-year-old work a little bit.
Yeah, if you have an old car, if you have a car that's not a new car, it's got a lot of miles on it, you want to let it use itself up a little bit.
1 minute gone by in round number 2. Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon.
Bob, the one thing about that, I'm sure the real good people that he has, Roger Bloodworth, you have Lou Duva, a real experienced guy, Ronnie Shields, who was a world champion, former world champion in his corner. They got to be concerned about the mental state of Gołota. He's a guy that you never know. He has the ability, but mentally sometimes he crumbles. In my opinion, he crumbles to the pressure. I believe those fights with Riddick Bowe, even though he was ahead in the fight, because the guy was still there, he mentally fell apart, and he threw those punches low because he was wasn't sure of himself, believe it or not. And that's why the reverse pressure can work here. He's home, but that pressure being at home can really affect him. Witherspoon, an experienced guy, the pressure won't affect him.
Right hand from Gołota missed the mark. Referee is from New Jersey, Steve Smoger. All three judges from the United States. Good combination by Gołota. Gołota seems relatively relaxed, Teddy.
No punches are coming at him. You be relaxed too.
Except for that right hand. Again, Witherspoon misses with it.
You find out about a person in anything, especially in that squared ring, when there's pressure. Right now, there's no pressure on him. If you're a Tim Witherspoon backer, you have to be concerned because this has fallen into the mode of his past bad performances, not moving his hands. It's not anything rocket science that he has to do here. He has to move his hands to have a chance to land that big right hand.
Final seconds of round number 2. This one is scheduled for 10. Andrew Gołota against former world champion Tim Witherspoon. Welcome back to ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Bob Papa along with Teddy Atlas, Andrew Gołota, and Tim Witherspoon from Witherspoon, Poland at the Hala Ludova Arena. 6,000 fans on hand, and through the first 2 rounds, Teddy, Gołota really hasn't had much to worry about from Witherspoon except from that right hand.
No, he's had it all his own way. He's been able to do anything he wants, and even at a slow pace. He didn't do anything real brisk the first couple rounds. Lou Duva said you're boxing beautifully, but it's easy for him, and he's telling him the right things to keep him up. But it's easy to box beautifully when a guy's not throwing back. My God, I could be Fred Astaire if I could walk through the steps.
That right hand from Witherspoon, he has a name for it. He calls it the can opener.
Witherspoon also has a nickname, Terrible Tim Witherspoon. Back in the days when he was a sparring partner of Muhammad Ali years ago, Muhammad gave him that moniker there. Right now, Muhammad would probably say he's looking more like Timid Tim and not Terrible Tim.
Neither man has been down. Neither man has been hurt. We're through the first 2+ rounds of this 10-round bout.
You know, it's a double-edged sword, Bob. Gołota could do a little bit more, but you don't want to do too much because then you can run into a punch. So in some ways, he's fighting a real smart fight.
Now, if you're Gołota, do you just look to stay away from that big right hand, or do you start to look to counter off it?
Well, right now, there's no right hand coming, so you don't give him an opportunity to throw it. Don't be in that range. The thing is range. Witherspoon needs to throw that, has the cooperation where you're close enough to land that wide punch. So all you have to do is watch your range. Make sure you're just out of range. The main thing is don't step out from too close. You can get caught on the way out.
Good jab there from the former champion Witherspoon. Gołota doubles with his jab.
Good counter right hand over the jab of Witherspoon by Gołota. Witherspoon's always been a durable guy. Even now at 40, you know, he's a guy that doesn't get knocked out. That one time of Bone Crusher Smith, as you said, he had already beaten Bone Crusher Smith. That was an exception because of the things going on in his life at that time. Also, Bone Crusher Smith jumped on him. Gołota's not jumping on anybody. In and out, that's what he's doing right now, Gołota. You can see that's what they worked on. 2, 3, out. You just don't want to get greedy later on, where Witherspoon, even at this age, maybe can time you. As a fighter, you want to know how much time you have. Do I have time to throw 1 punch, or do I have time to throw 5?
Gołota letting his hands go here near the end of round number 3. He has controlled this bout from the start. Scheduled for 10. Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Welcome back to ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Round 4 underway between Andrew Gołota and former world champion Tim Witherspoon from Witherspoon, Poland. It's about 240 miles southwest of Warsaw. That is where Gołota is from. A very enthusiastic crowd. And there's the right hand from Witherspoon. And again, Teddy, Gołota making sure he stays out of range.
It's a lot easier, Bob, when you have to worry about one punch at a time and no jab coming with it. There was a jab from Witherspoon, but they're few and far in between. You lead with right hands with any kind of a level kind of fighter, you're not going to land it. Unless he's just a beginner, you are not going to land it. You have to do better than that.
Witherspoon comes in having lost 3 of his last 4, losing to Ray Mercer, Larry Donald, and James Thunder. The one win, a knockout of Levi Billups.
Witherspoon is doing what's become too familiar to people following Witherspoon lately, not throwing punches. Old-time fight manager, very famous one, Customato, once said, you know, power is like a bomb. You have to have a missile to get it to the target. Otherwise, all it does is make a big hole in the ground. Doesn't do any value. That missile in the right hand of Witherspoon is doing nothing because he's not getting it to the target. He is not throwing punches.
There it is again, and Gołota making sure he is at the right distance. Midway point of round 4.
Talked about where Gołota came from. I was talking to people scouting the fight. Gołota, they took him up to the hills, away from any kind of familiar surroundings, with the pressure that's on Gołota being over there, being the kind of guy that sometimes succumbs to pressure or is bothered by pressure. They took him away from everything, took him up to the hills. He's been there for 3 weeks out in Poland. Plenty of time to acclimate.
Gołota puts his punches together there and scores.
Tim Witherspoon was only over there 10 days. For an older guy, is that enough time to acclimate and get over the jet lag? I usually like 2 weeks.
Here's Lou Duva in the corner of Andrew Gołota. He, along with Roger Bloodworth and Ronnie Shields, man the corner. Final 30 seconds of round 4. So far, Teddy, a shutout for Gołota.
Yeah, this is just a dance with only one partner. There's nobody else, you know, doing it with him. It's all his way. He can do anything he wants tonight because there's being no resistance from Tim Witherspoon. Nothing exciting, but Gołota is winning the rounds.
Come to the end of round number 4. Andrew Gołota in control here against Tim Witherspoon. Scheduled for 10. There's the bell to end the round. Gołota with a late shot. Tim Witherspoon complaining to Steve Smoger. Smoger says forget about it. Let's send it back to our studios. Here's Brian and Max.
Oh, no, and you got to figure, you got to just say, oh, no, not again with Gołota, because he fought so well against Riddick Bowe, Max. He got himself disqualified, and there he is. Witherspoon's trunks couldn't be much lower. It's a low blow.
Yeah, we were talking about that while we were watching the fight. It was a low blow. Gołota succumbs to pressure. We've seen it in the past, and Witherspoon's applying the pressure. The winner of this fight is a top 10 or 12 heavyweight, so the stakes are kind of high, because nowadays you're a top 10 or 12 heavyweight. That's millions of dollars, potentially, for a title shot against Holyfield or Lewis while they're waiting to make the fight. So, you know, the stakes are high, and maybe Gołota's feeling the pressure a little bit and succumbing to it a little bit.
It's happened before, of course. Programming note here before we go back out to the fight. 4 Eastern on ABC. That's on Sunday, the Texaco Grand Prix of Houston. Again, 4 Eastern on ABC. Let's get back out to Bob and Teddy.
Andrew Gołota getting set for the start of round number 5 against Tim Witherspoon from the Hala Ludova in Wrocław, Poland. Bob Popple along with Teddy Atlas and Tim Witherspoon trying to pull out every trick. Teddy, at the end of round number 4, he was complaining to Steve Smoger about a low blow, and Smoger would have none of it.
The old-time fighters, they used to bring their trunks up higher, so it would be hard for the referee to tell whether or not it was fair or not. Get a little edge that way. The old-time fighters look for everything. Sometimes they used to even finish rounds near their corner, so they wouldn't have to walk back as far. Tim Witherspoon looks like he's going to need everything. The one thing he's not doing that he needs is to move his hands.
In the corner of Gołota in between rounds 4 and 5, they urged him to not get lazy with the jab. Don't just lay it out there, snap it out there, and this fight will be easy for you.
Right information, the right advice, because the one chance that Witherspoon has is to time him with the right hand. So you don't want a slow jab. You want a snappy jab from the right distance, not from too close, so he can't time you. And you don't want to look for a knockout. Roger Bloodworth told him that. Lou Duva told him that. The right advice. You want to just win. Take what he's giving you. And right now, Witherspoon's giving him too much.
Witherspoon, though, it seems, is starting to be first with his jab. And that would be a red flag in the Gołota corner, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you know what? A red flag is, you're right. What would really be a problem is if Gołota, by being too careful, allowed confidence to build with Witherspoon. Witherspoon to say, this guy was 10 years younger, he's not that much. I'm 40 years old, I'm going to go give it a shot. So there's a catch-22 there. You want to be smart, but you don't want to do nothing and just get by, because you're going to allow the older guy to get confident and to start to be busier.
Well, here in round 5, it's probably been Witherspoon's best round. He's been assertive with his jab. There's a hook to the midsection. And he's been first. There's a right hand to the ear by Witherspoon, and Gołota ducking away.
This round, Gołota has allowed Witherspoon to close the gap and get in close, because Gołota stopped using the jab. Gołota's been a little bit too defensive-minded and a little too reserved this round. That's why Witherspoon's been a little better. Gołota needs to move his hands, needs to take what Witherspoon's given him, needs to be opportunistic without getting careless and without getting caught the right hand.
Both exchanged some jabs there. Final 10 seconds of round 5, the midway point of the bout, scheduled for 10. Andrew Gołota against former world champion Tim Witherspoon on the deuce. Terrible Tim Witherspoon, the former WBC and WBA heavyweight champion. And Teddy, as we get set for the start of round number 6, there seems to be some optimism in the corner of Witherspoon.
Well, there's a reason for it. It was the first round that I gave him on the scorecard. Close, because Gołota came back a little bit at the end, but I thought Witherspoon carried the beginning of the round, the first 3 quarters. He finally started moving his hands. Part of it is because Gołota was being a little bit too careful.
We hope you're enjoying Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon via satellite from Poland on ESPN2's Friday Night Fight, scheduled for 10 rounds. We're in round number 6. No knockdowns. Neither man has been hurt. Gołota dominating the early portion of the bout, although Witherspoon did have a good round 5, as Teddy mentioned.
Witherspoon goes into that turtle defense, Bob, crosses his arms in that awkward way, like the old Mongoose, Archie Moore. Of course, George Foreman made it famous later, but Archie Moore was the one who first started that.
There's a right hand from Witherspoon and another right hand.
And that gives him a chance. That's all he wants, is to be able to get into range, and Gołota has allowed him to. And he's thrown it. You could see he's like a guy who hasn't seen a meal for a while. He's really going to work.
Well, Witherspoon would like to chomp on Gołota. And that right hand found the mark, and it all started in the last round when Witherspoon established a jab.
And you never know how Gołota, who in the past has been a guy who's acted funny under pressure, is going to behave if Witherspoon starts getting into range and starts making things happen. Gołota, as strong as he is, as skilled as he is, sometimes is not real strong in the mental department. Just because a guy's real physically fit and it looks tough doesn't always mean he feels the same way. Take Mike Tyson, for example.
I remember an old NFL coach said, just because you talk like a football player, look like a football player, and walk like a football player, doesn't make you a player. 1 minute to go in round number 6.
Gołota's being allowed to move his hands. He's moving his hands. Witherspoon, again, what you can expect from a 40-year-old guy a little bit, is really only picking the spots. The problem is he can't let those spots be too few and far between. Otherwise, he has no shot at winning this fight, because he has to be in it to win it. He has to be able to throw that right hand, because it doesn't look the way it's going. He's going to win a decision. He has to land that right hand.
The jab from Witherspoon. If you're a Gołota backer, are you concerned that you're having this much trouble with a 40-year-old?
No, if you're a Gołota backer with all the ups and downs he's had, and with the way he could be so inconsistent and he can worry you, you're just glad that he's where he is, and that so far he hasn't bit anybody.
Final seconds of round number 6. Andrew Gołota against Tim Witherspoon from Poland on ESPN2. Papa along with Teddy Atlas in the corner of Andrew Gołota here at the Hala Ludova in Wrocław, Poland. They said stop with the one punches. Put your hands together. Throw combinations. Throw your jab, and you win this fight. You're making this harder on yourself.
Well, that's good advice. All he has to do is use that jab, and Witherspoon is not going to walk into range where he can throw that right hand.
Now, in round number 6, Gołota did get tagged with 2 right hands from Witherspoon.
Gołota has a good chin. A lot of people after the Lewis debacle, where he got knocked down 1 round, would say he doesn't have a good chin. He has a good chin. He got hit by Riddick Bowe. He's been a real good amateur, over 100 fights with top amateur fighters in the world. He has a good chin. The thing is, be able to mentally be strong and not want to give in, not freeze.
So you think that Lennox Lewis really beat him psychologically more than the punches?
Yeah, I think he was frozen in that fight. I mean, there was an excuse they made afterwards. They said he took an injection for, I believe, a knee injury, and that did not affect him properly. I think that he just froze up in that fight.
Well, if you remember in that fight, he was late just getting to the arena. He was sequestered in his room. And there was concerns if he would come down. There's a look of concern on Ludova's face, but we like to see Gołota double up with that jab.
Well, it's never over till it's over when you have with anybody in boxing. Anything can happen, especially a guy like Gołota, who sometimes mentally can falter a little bit. That's always been his problem. 75% of this game is mental anyway. You've seen a lot of guys pass guys up with less physical abilities than the guy they pass up, because mentally they were able to endure. They were able to do it under pressure.
There's that right hand again from Witherspoon.
Believe it or not, Bob, under pressure, it's a funny thing in there. Sometimes guys look for excuses just in case they don't do well, to have an excuse to be able to say, well, it was because of this.
Good work by Gołota as he goes downstairs and upstairs.
There were stories of old-time fighters, sometimes day before a fight, day of a fight, would drink a little wine, just so they could say to their friends, you see, if I didn't drink that wine, I would have won.
Gołota pressing the attack here against Witherspoon in round 7, but Witherspoon answers right back.
Witherspoon's been a veteran 19 years. Gołota about 6.5 years as a pro. No real spring chicken, but nothing compared to the 19 years of Witherspoon.
Good counter left from Witherspoon. Witherspoon and Gołota on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights.
Back here on Friday Night Fights, want to tell you about a fight going on tonight. It just ended. Another heavyweight battle before we get back to Gołota and Witherspoon. In Louisiana, Oleg Moskaev and Tokipa Tasefa. Moskaev, 22-2 coming in. And watch closely, opening minute, down goes Tasefa. Max said he just went to the top 40 among his heavyweights. Hits harder than Shane Spencer of those New York Yankees. Meantime, go back to the other heavyweights, Bob and Teddy, guys.
We get set for the start of round number 8, scheduled for 10. Teddy, they feel in the corner of Witherspoon that there is a legitimate shot to tag Gołota and maybe pull off the upset.
They're not wrong, but they don't have a shot if they don't throw the punch. Again, you have to put that bomb onto a missile, and you got to ignite that missile. Where's the missile? Where's the punch?
Could Witherspoon maybe just be saving himself for the last couple of rounds where he sort of really presses Gołota?
Well, he's waiting a little long there. He's going to make people a little nervous. He's only got 3 rounds left. It's getting a little tight.
There's not been a lot of body work in this fight from either man, although Gołota has landed a few more body shots.
If you're looking for hope from Witherspoon, you can go back and say, you know, Witherspoon went abroad, went overseas, and he knocked out Frank Bruno when he was behind in a fight similar to this. He wasn't throwing punches, and then he caught him with the big right hand in the 10th round. He was not able to pull it out of the fire. But that was back in '86.
Yeah, it was 12 years ago. And that is the latest knockout that Witherspoon ever recorded. It was an 11th round stoppage. If you're wondering about his late power, Gołota has never stopped anyone after 8 rounds.
Starting to get into urgent territory here for terrible Tim here. And I tell you one problem in his corner, he's got a good chief trainer with Lowry, an old-timer from North Carolina, had Allo from McCall, helped out Bert Cooper. He's got James Thornwell, manager Tom Moran, who's been with him through thick and thin. Actually, Witherspoon had left him at one point in his career and then came back to him. But he's got his brother, Steve Witherspoon. Your brother, I don't think, can be urgent with you if there's an urgent situation, and that can hurt him a little bit.
Well, Witherspoon, again, throwing those right hands. He says to Gołota, come on, bring on some more. And I think Witherspoon's just trying to set him up to fire off one of those rights.
He'd like to play possum a little bit and try to lure in Gołota a little bit like Holyfield did with Michael Moorer, where he was able to bring him in close, where he could land the punches and not deal with the jab and the problem of distance. Distance is the hardest thing for an old-timer to deal with, because reflexes come into play, but when you're close, you can still let those punches go. Distance is a big enemy, and speed for an old-timer.
Push him off. That's it. Good.
The crowd trying to urge on Andrew Gołota. 6,000 fans on hand here at the Hala Ludowa in Wrocław, Poland. Closing seconds of round 8. Remember, this one is scheduled for 10. Tim Witherspoon and Andrew Gołota. We get set for the start of round number 9. Bob Papa along with Teddy Atlas, Andrew Gołota, and terrible Tim Witherspoon. Scheduled for 10 from Poland. No knockdowns in the fight. Neither man has been hurt, and Teddy, time is rapidly running out on Tim Witherspoon.
Oh yeah, we're past the point of no return here. Tim can only, on my scorecard, and I think a lot of other people's probably, can only win by a knockout. That's going to have to come from the right hand. And he's going to have to throw it. He's going to have to get close enough to throw it. And he may have to throw more than one.
A couple of rounds ago, he did tag Gołota with back-to-back right hands, but Gołota shook them off. Corner of Witherspoon said, throw the jab to the chest so that right hand will be a bit straighter as opposed to that roundhouse right over the top.
Tim Witherspoon's trademark has always been that roundhouse right hand. He's been able to make a living for him, but the straight right hand is always more effective. Less chance to get away from it. It gets there faster. You don't see it as well.
Good left from Gołota. Witherspoon looking to respond.
A lot of people might say, you know, Gołota could do more, but I'm sure his corner's very satisfied. He's well ahead in the fight, and he's staying out of harm's way, and he's just picking him apart a little bit. Just pop, 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 getting out.
Gołota has fought a very patient fight. And he's shown composure, and that's one of the big questions concerning Andrew Gołota, is composure.
I don't want to take anything away from him. He has, but he hasn't really been tested either. There's been no real sustained pressure. To test composure, character, whatever you want to call it, professionalism, you have to have sustained pressure. There really hasn't been any. There's been 1 or 2 spots.
Blood from the nose of Gołota. There's a good right hand from Gołota.
I think Gołota can get closer to Witherspoon if he wants to, but I don't think he wants to, because if he gets closer, then Witherspoon's closer to him. He's satisfied to just take it where he's taking it, from a safe distance. A lot of people say, well, why don't he get closer? That's why. Gotta watch he doesn't get caught on the way out. That's going to be the biggest danger down the stretch here. Don't go straight back.
Well, you see Witherspoon now is willing to take 2 or 3 shots if he can just land 1 or 2 of his big ones. That time, Gołota was within range, and Witherspoon did nothing. Final seconds of round number 9. It is a 10-round bout between Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon. all Gołota through 9. So 9 rounds in the book between Andrew Gołota and Tim Witherspoon. Gołota controlling this fight. Let's listen into his corner with Lou Duva.
You don't have to fight with this one. Stay out there inside and box your ass off.
Take no chances. Box his guy.
Box. He's gonna try to come hard.
Well, here you see Gołota scoring his punches and getting out and keeping his hand up so he didn't get caught on the way out. That's why he was successful right there. Got his punches in, got out before Witherspoon could retaliate. Again, here you can see, even though he falls short, he follows up his misses, he peppers, and he gets out before Witherspoon can respond with only 1 punch.
So Tim Witherspoon and Andrew Gołota touch gloves in the center of the ring. We begin the 10th and final round. Teddy, do you have it 8-1 so far, Gołota?
Yeah, I have it 92-82 in points. That's what it comes out to. Shutout except for 1 round. Tim, no doubt about it, must score a knockout. And he's coming out like he's going to try at least. He's bobbing and weaving. That's good for defensive reasons, but right now he needs offense. Bob and weave all you want, but throw those punches, Tim. See, right there, he wasn't able to pull the trigger. He should have pulled the trigger. A younger Witherspoon would have pulled the trigger.
I guess this could be the end of the line for Tim Witherspoon with losses to Larry Donald and James Thunder, and apparently on his way to a loss here against Andrew Gołota. What's the point of continuing?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, on the one side, if there's value where it can be used as a stepping stone for a guy coming up, but at this point that may even deteriorate. He may not even have value there anymore, because who's going to want to buy him?
There's the right hand. Gołota protecting himself and firing off the ropes. Midway point of the final round.
What Witherspoon needs here is what happened years ago when John Tate, Big John Tate, was heavyweight champ, and Mike Weaver caught him with seconds left in the 15th round after losing almost every round. He needs a Rocky ending here. That's what he needs. He needs to throw a right hand.
Someone had better get the script to Gołota then. And Witherspoon just not throwing punches here in the final round.
The old-time trainers used to say, people say you could be a little more exciting, look a little better, Gołota. Old-time guys used to say, just win tonight. We'll look good somewhere down the road. That's what Gołota's doing. He's just winning tonight. Doing what's being given him.
Good right hand to the midsection by Gołota.
You know, we'd really be talking about the 40 years of age even more if it wasn't for guys like George Foreman that made you forget about that.
That's right.
Because before that, it was only guys like Archie Moore that fought into their 40s with any success.
Well, 7 seconds to go, and Andrew Gołota appears on his way to a unanimous decision against Tim Witherspoon. There's the bell to end it. Andrew Gołota embraces Tim Witherspoon, and Gołota returns to Poland with a solid effort against Witherspoon. We'll have the decision after this timeout on ESPN2's Friday Night Fights. Welcome back to Poland. Bob Papa along with Teddy Atlas. Here's our ring announcer, Paweł DeLong.
100-91. Sędzia Rivera 98-93. Jednogłośną decyzją sędziów zwycięzcą jest Andrzej Gołota!
Teddy, no surprise. Andrew Gołota improves to 32-3. Unanimous decision against Tim Witherspoon. Did Gołota help his stock at all with this?
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. A win is a win is a win. He won the heavyweight division the way it is. They need guys. He's right there. He's right in there. He's going to fit in there for a big fight.
What about Tim Witherspoon at 40 years of age, his 8th loss? He's now lost 3 in a row.
Tim Witherspoon's a nice guy. He's had a great career, but quite honestly, he's at the end of his road. And the only value left for him is if somebody coming up wants the name value guy. But what's left in that? Maybe the television networks might not want to use him because at this point he doesn't make exciting enough fights. That's the problem.
So after the Lennox Lewis meltdown, Andrew Gołota has now won 4 in a row. A unanimous decision against Tim Witherspoon as he makes his return to Poland. Let's send it back to our ESPN2 studios with Brian Kenny and Max Kellerman. Guys?